Hi, my name is Wani, and if you're a fan of humorous stories that actually happened, the real kind, not just made up, I think you're really going to enjoy this channel. However, I'm going to warn you that I will embellish the heck out of these stories. And for those of you who don't know what embellish means, it means I am going to lie, and I'm going to lie bad. But I'm not going to tell you where I'm lying. It's going to be up to you to figure that out for yourself. But more importantly, I just appreciate it if you just enjoy the stories. If you want to contribute your own stories to this channel, I'll be more than happy to go through them, read them, embellish them, tell them as you told them, whatever the case may be. But email me your stories at CDWanny.yahoo.com, and or you can message me on Facebook, Chris Wanamaker, and I'll put those contacts down in the links below. Today's story is going to be about the Mississippi Bigfoot. Thus my hunting garb. It is a hunting story. It happened on a hunting trip. Most people would say that there haven't been any Bigfoot sightings in Mississippi. I beg to differ. There is without a doubt a Bigfoot sighting in this story. 9 foot tall with glowing red eyes. I promise you, as sure as I'm sitting here, there were red eyes 9 feet up and belonging to the Mississippi Bigfoot. But we'll get on with that story. Before I get going, I need to give you my pitch, because this is a brand new channel and I'm trying to get it off the ground and make it work, and to do so I'm going to need your help. If you like this channel, you like this story, and you want to see more of it, be sure to reach over and give the like button a little tickle, and hit the subscribe button so I know that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. If nobody's interested in this, then I'm not going to waste my time doing it. But if I know people are watching, then I'm going to continue doing stories. I will tell your stories, I will tell my stories, and believe me, I got a few. And you'll find a bell there in the icons on the YouTube too. Be sure and clang on that. Give it a click with your mouse or your finger, whatever you're using, and that way you won't miss any stories coming up. But anyway, I hope to have some maybe promotions and giveaways later if this show takes off and becomes a success. But until then, just bear with me, and I hope you enjoy the stories. So without further ado, let's press on. This story takes place, as I mentioned, in Mississippi. About 30 years ago, actually. I was in the Air Force. And I had a buddy there named Russell. And me and Russell, we'd go out hunting, and we'd go out fishing, and we would just have a great time all the time. We'd go out boating, water skiing, and Mississippi was a great place for doing these kind of things because it's so wide open. And to really understand this, currently I live in the state of Washington, right in between Seattle and Tacoma. So everything's pretty urban. But when you get to Mississippi and get out there, there'd be a small town, and then 20 miles of nothing but wilderness in between towns. Even the biggest town close to us, which was Starkville, that was the college town, is Mississippi University of Mississippi, I don't know what. But even that was a tiny little town for housing such a major college. And in between this, like I say, all there is forests, snakes, bugs. Never saw an alligator, but I hear that they're there, maybe down toward the coast in the marshy areas. But, you know, there's just wildlife abundant there, so hunting and fishing is really a major thing there in Mississippi. But my point being, me and Russell would go off and we would have these adventures. I mean, funny things happened, extraordinary things happened, just weird stuff happened. But it just happened to us on such a continuous basis. Then we'd get to the base, back to the base, and we'd tell our workmates, you know, what had happened, and they were like, oh, baloney, that didn't happen. It did. As sure as I'm sitting here talking to you, and this is not an embellishment, one of them lies, it happened. But anyway, people got to hearing our stories, and it'd be like we'd come back from a weekend of hunting or fishing, and people would start getting curious and coming around and going, so what happened to you guys this time? Anything interesting? Anything fun? And like any good Southern story, it started off with, man, y'all ain't gonna believe this. And we'd go off and tell our stories, and they'd sit there and listen and laugh and tell us what idiots we were. And generally they were right, we were idiots. But we had fun doing it. So one weekend we were going to go down on this hunt, And a buddy of ours, Sam, he started begging us. Come on, let me go with you. I want to go with you guys. And I said, Sam, we're just going hunting. Ain't nothing weird going to happen. We're going to do some deer hunting down there. And he was like, I don't care. I want to go. So Russell and I, we talked it over and we said, all right. With a little bit of devilment in mind, we said, all right, Sam, you can come. And fortunately for us, unfortunately for Sam, he had to work late that Friday as we were leaving. And so me and Russell would take off first, get down there, set up camp, and then Sam would tag along behind us. Now, like I said, Mississippi is nothing but huge expanses of nothing. Snakes, bugs, trees, you name it. There's a lot of farmland, but it's just wide open. And this is late 80s, so we didn't have any telephone, mobile phones or nothing. You couldn't just Google map your way anywhere. So there was no GPS. The early GPS units for TomTom and Garmin and all that, those hadn't even come around yet. So we had to use our own GPS. And that was barns, horses, and beer. Oh, and trees. Those things could get you anywhere. So we told Sam, we gave him directions. We told him, Sammy, write this down. Okay, you want to stop by the store and you want to get you 2 6-packs of beer. It's going to take 2. And you're going to leave Columbus, that's where we were, Columbus, Mississippi, and you're going to head south. Okay, you're going to go south for 2.5 beers, because that's our GPS, that's how we measured things down there. Once you got out of the city, anything was fair game. If you didn't have a beer in your hand, in your lap or something, people just looked at you like there was something wrong with you. It's just the way it was down there. It's a whole different culture. And that was 30 years ago. I doubt things are like that now. But anyway, we told Sam, head south for 2.5 beers. If you drink 3, you went too far. And then you're going to hook your right. Okay, then you're going to hook a right and go for about 3 beers, and you're going to come to 2 horses standing in a pasture. Okay, that's when you're going to want to turn left. And you're going to follow that down. And it's going to be maybe 3.5 beers, so you're going to have to dig into your second 6-pack here. And you're going to come across this old oak tree, and it's been wrapped around with lightning down the side. It's really easy to see. You can't miss it. But anyway, about a half a beer past that, you're going to want to take a right. It's the only dirt road down there. Take a right, and then just keep driving until you come across our campsite. We'll be on the left-hand side of the road. And so Sam's writing all this down. Okay, I got it. So night came, and me and Russell took off about 2 o'clock that afternoon, and we was just having a nice leisurely pace. And we stopped by the hardware store on the way down there. That's important. It'll come in later, I promise. So anyway, we get down there, we set up our tent, get all of our sleeping bags laid out, get a campfire going, get all our cooking pots out, and we got a kitchen set up. We're ready to go. We're in for the long haul. We're ready to stay there and go camping and go hunting. And me and Russell haven't been drinking anything all day. We need our wits about us, because we got 3 things that we're going to mix together tonight. Number 1, of course, is Bigfoot. Number 2, alcohol. And number 3, firearms, okay? So me and Russell kind of need to keep our wits about us. Firearms, alcohol, and Bigfoot. You can't mix them 3 up in any combination and good things are going to happen. It just don't happen. So anyway, we got all the things set up. Sam comes down there, and me and Russell, we took this Jack Daniels bottle, and we filled it about half full of Pepsi and half full of 7-Up and give it that whiskey look to us. And we're passing it back and forth, and Sam's sitting on the other side of the fire, and we toss him a bottle, and we go, there you go, Sam, that's yours. We got ours over on this side of the fire. We're passing back and forth. Sam's over there drinking. And Sam's drinking whiskey and beer, and we're just over here drinking our 7-Up and our Pepsi. And we're just sitting around telling stories the way you do when you're camping. You have a little sip of whiskey, you drink a beer, then you toss the beer can into the fire and watch the aluminum melt. Well, Russell, and we're just telling lies like we always do. And Russell asked me, he goes, hey man, you're from up there in Washington, aren't you? And I say, yeah, I'm up there in the Northwest, Cascade Mountains. And he goes, man, I heard something up there. Something called a big feet. You ever seen one of them big feet? I go, well, Russell, to be honest with you, there's people that are going to tell you they don't exist. But I'm here to tell you they do exist. And people seen them from far away, and people seen them up close. And you can talk to the people about them that seen them far away, and they'll tell you what they saw, but you can't talk to the people that seen them up close. Because these Bigfoot, man, they're like 9, 12 feet tall, somewhere in that range. They got teeth like railroad spikes, big old claws. They got the strength of 10 men. There's a story of Ape Canyon with some miners up there, and these Bigfoot were raining boulders on them. They was throwing these 1.5 foot wide boulders like they was baseball, and just raining holy hell down on these poor miners. And people that seen them up close, they usually go and recover the bodies with a pair of tweezers. It just ain't pretty. And the people that seen them far away, you know, they talk about these big feet. Now you got me talking like Russell. They talk about Bigfoot. It's so strange that a creature so huge and just bulked with muscle, when they say that they see it, it'll be like 100 feet away, and it'll just kind of come out of the woods. And they'll look at it. If they're idiots, they might try to get closer, but it'll disappear back in the woods. And if you ever jump a deer in the woods, you can hear thump, you know, just a hard thump as the feet hit the ground, and it hops away, and you can hear it crashing through the brush. Just about any animal, you hear them crashing through the brush. Well, these Bigfoot, they glide through the forest without making a sound. It's really odd and eerie that something that big can just glide through the forest without making a sound. It's kind of scary, man. But I'm going on and on about Bigfoot, and I start to tell some tales. I told the story about Ape Canyon, about those miners getting attacked. I told, you know, the stories where people were just torn apart, and they'd find a torso here and an arm 50 feet away where the body just seemed to be ripped apart. And Sam, he's just sitting there, and he's watching me. And he's watching and just looking around, and he's paying attention to these stories, but he ain't contributing anything, and he ain't asking any questions. He's just half-assed in the bag, drunk, and just hanging on to my every word as I'm talking about these big feet. Well, anyway, get talking about it for a while, and I got to go take a leak. So I get off, and I wander off into the trees, and that was one of the things we set up. Back there in the trees, I found this nice old big stick about 4 foot long. And I took that stick and I started rapping it just through the brush, and then I just started making screaming sounds, you know, like I was crying, and just high pitched, like I was terrified and hurt. At the same time, I'm just swinging this branch through the trees. And this is probably in September, October, somewhere around there. There hadn't been a lot of rain. You know, it's good into the fall, so all the leaves on the trees are real crinkly, and the branches are kind of dried up, so they're just making cracking, crashing sounds. And with my screaming on top of it, man, there's something going on in them woods. There ain't no telling what. Well, Russell jumps up, and he grabs a shotgun, and he grabs a flashlight, and shines it in the trees. And sure enough, 9 feet up in these trees, there's a pair of red eyes about that far apart. Yeah, when we stopped at that hardware store that day, we stopped and bought us a couple bike reflectors. Then we went up there and nailed them up in the tree. So anyway, Russell shines a light up there, and he's screaming, "Holy smoke, look at that!" Sam's looking, he sees the eyes. He's just frozen with terror. He's shaking. Well, when that flashlight beam comes around, that's my cue to drop my stick and hit the dirt. Russell's got a semi-automatic shotgun. It'll fire just as fast as you can pull the trigger, and he goes bam, bam, bam. Well, the only thing Russell was aiming at, he was aiming to blow out those reflectors. That was the only thing he was aiming at. So he knocked out those reflectors, and he turns around and he pretends to load his shotgun. He ain't putting nothing in it. He's just clicking it, and then he cocks it anyway, he loads it and hands it to Sam. The gun is totally unloaded at this point. Russell counted the shells he fired. He knows how many he put in. We know it's unloaded. This is not safe. I am not professing it to be safe. I told you in the beginning, these were idiots out in the woods. All right, so anyway, Russell hands Sam the gun. He goes, "Man, anything comes out of them trees, but me or Chris, you shoot it and keep pulling that trigger till nothing happens, man, till it goes click. And then you haul ass jump in your car, and you drive, and you keep driving, and you drive until you can get somewhere and get us some help." And Russell pulls a sidearm, and he goes, "All right, I'm going in the trees, and I'm going to go find Chris." So Russell walks in the trees. He goes, "Hey, man, "Hey, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm over here." He pulls out of his pockets, he's got 2 Budweisers. He goes, "Here you go." And so we crack a beer. We're drinking beers, and Russell goes, "How you doing, man? You ain't heard nothing. I didn't put no holes in you, did I?" I said, No, I'm fine. I felt some of the pellets fall off the tree, but other than that, I'm fine." We're drinking beer and we're laughing. "How's Sam?" "Oh, God, he's near tears, man. He's out there. He's terrified. He's waiting for something to come out of that brush and kill him." Well, at that point, Russell pulls out his red man chewing tobacco, gets his finger in there, digs around, rubs his fingers in his eyes. He's going to get some tears working up. And then he comes walking out of the bush and he goes, Sam, don't shoot, it's me. We got a problem." And Sam's like, What's going on?" And he's all scared, and it's just, you may think we're being cruel, but believe me, it was funny at the time. I'm sitting in the brush and I'm watching all this, and I'm like, man, this went off smoother than it ever could have. This is fantastic. And Russell goes, "Man, we got us a problem. Wanny's back there. He's dead. But he ain't dead from no Bigfoot tearing him apart, man. I just riddled him with that shotgun. He's all shot to heck. And he's dead. And we got a situation. We need to cover this up." And Sam's kind of freaking out. He goes, What do we do? And Russell goes, "Well, what we're going to do, we're going to bury Chris. We're going to move this camp about 20 miles down the road, and we ain't never going to tell anybody we was here. And we're going to just say Chris went in the woods hunting, and he didn't come back to camp that night. We don't know what happened to him. So we're going to break camp, but first I need you to get some shovels. We need to bury Chris." And so I'm like, "Okay." And he comes walking back from the cart, and he's dragging the shovel, and he's got tears coming down his eyes. I've got a wife and kid at home, and Sam was just going to bury me out in the woods in this unmarked grave and not tell my family what happened to me, man. That was, so I step out of the woods. I go, "Hey, Sam, it's me. I'm okay." And you ain't going to believe this, but Sam wanted to fight. He was upset for some reason over a practical joke. I don't understand it myself, but yeah, he was upset, and I can't remember what he called us. It was some kind of term of our of anatomy. It was kneecaps or elbows. "You guys are a bunch of elbows." And then we all sat down and shook hands, and there wasn't no fighting, but it was, anyway. That's the story of the Mississippi Bigfoot. I told you that there was a Bigfoot, something up there with big red eyes, up in the tree, 9 foot tall. And if you enjoyed this story, which I hope you did, I hope you'll hit the like button. I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you hit that bell so that you know when my next story is coming out. Like I told you, I'm going to do one of these a week. I'm going to shoot for 2. But there's a lot of production that goes into this, and I've got a regular job that takes up, unfortunately, a lot of my time. And so I'll definitely do one a week, but I'm going to try to do 2. But subscribe, like, and click the bell if you're on board with me, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.